On June 4th, 2021, Metallica's Load record reached its 25th anniversary. The mid-90s had presented a different look for the band both musically and aesthetically. After years of long hair, heavy riffs, and the occasional "Yeah!", the four members had shocked the music world by shifting in a much more different direction. A good portion of the fan base were expecting an essential sequel to the hit record simply known as the Black Album from 1991. Instead, Metallica had delivered a record that still had heavy moments, but was more bluesy and melodic overall. It was clear that the metal was out of the question for the foreseeable future. Despite reaching number 1 on the Billboard 200 list, the album is met with criticism from longtime fans for its musical approach and visual presentation, with the classic logo being altered and the band members each sporting drastically different looks, while dressed in, as then bassist Jason Newsted put it, Cuban pimp suits. What happened here? My name is Aaron, and today we shall examine an intriguing piece of Metallica history and go track by track through what is still their longest record 25 years later. This is a tale of Metallica's Load record. In the early 1980s, the band was among many who helped pave the way for the emerging genre of thrash metal in San Francisco, California. James Hetfield and Lars Ulrich were the first two members to meet in Los Angeles, thanks to a newspaper ad Ulrich had posted to any willing guitarists interested in bands such as Diamond Head, Motorhead, Angel Witch, and Saxon. The original lineup consisted of Hetfield on rhythm guitar and vocals, Ulrich on drums, bassist Ron McGovney, and lead guitarist Dave Mustaine. You may have heard of him. Thanks to a connection Ulrich had to Brian Slagel, founder of Metal Blade Records, the band appeared on a metal compilation with the song Hit the Lights in 1982. From there, Metallica was off to the races, recording 2 demos before the eventual release of their first record in 1983, Kill 'Em All. Several altercations with Mustaine, then fueled by copious amounts of alcohol, led to McGovney leaving the band and his own eventual exile not long after. Bassist Cliff Burton and guitarist Kirk Hammett would take their places and record their parts for the 1983 debut. Metallica's momentum would increase with each subsequent release for the rest of the 1980s. Ride the Lightning in 1984, Master of Puppets in 1986, and And Justice for All in 1988. Even after the still saddening incident involving Burton losing his life on a bus ride during the tour for Master, the surviving 3 members pressed onward. Bassist Jason Newsted, formerly of Flotsam and Jetsam, was brought in as the new bass player for Metallica to finish the Master of Puppets tour and would remain in the band throughout the 1990s. With the release of And Justice for All came the debut of Metallica's first music video for their classic song entitled One. This video and song would continue their upward trend in popularity. Although each of their records in the 80s retain a heavy and bombastic sound, they all were unique in structure. Kill was raw and energetic, non-stop metal up your ass. Ride still had fast moments, but also balanced itself out with more thematic pieces such as the Call of Cthulhu. Master presented lyrics pertaining to real-life issues such as addiction and continued expanding song arrangements. Justice presented a more technical, progressive set of tracks with politically themed lyrics. To this day, it's almost as if you're listening to 4 different bands. There was something there for every metalhead in their discography up to that point. Clearly, the band was not afraid to experiment. The question was, how far were they going to go? In August 1991, their 5th record proved to be an even greater shift for their musical approach. The self-titled record, famously referred to as the Black Album, slowed the music down dramatically while beefing up its heaviness. Now under the supervision of producer SpongeBob Rock, the songs were more simplified and radio-friendly. While a song such as Nothing Else Matters proved to be alienating for a portion of the fans who had adored their 80s material, it would catapult the band's popularity to new heights. It also didn't hurt the band to have the likes of Enter Sandman, Sad But True, the original Unforgiven, and Wherever I May Roam on rotation across thousands of radio stations at the time. Demand for Metallica was so high, they would tour worldwide for nearly 3 years in promotion for the Black Album. Touring became so taxing that they would eventually need to downtune their live sound to accommodate Hetfield's voice. Once the tour was complete, the band took a break in the summer of 1995 before commencing work on their next record later that year. The trend of looser and simpler songs would continue this time around with a major twist. Hammett and Newsted were allowed to, as Hetfield once noted, play what they feel. The writing and recording process had lightened up in a way that had never been the case. Beforehand, Hammett and Newsted would be instructed to play parts as outlined by Hetfield and Ulrich, with very little room for improvising. This would also mark the first time Hammett played rhythm guitar on a Metallica record on top of his usual lead work. Much like the Black Album, footage of the four members jamming much of what would end up on the new record was made available to Met Club members, showcasing the persistence of the decreasing aggression in their sound. Thank goodness for YouTube, eh? Ulrich would note later on that this time, the objective was to capture the energy of their live performances by continuing their free-flowing trend. Ulrich stated, "Even as we were loosening up more and more with the Black Album, we still had ways to go. As far as I was concerned, that was the main criteria for Load, to capture a looser Metallica that was much more involved with Kirk and Jason." The first remnants of the new record emerged with the single entitled Until It Sleeps, debuting on May 21st, 1996. 2 weeks later, Metallica's sixth album was released with Elektra Records and produced by SpongeBob Rock, his second production credit with Metallica. Immediately, one can deduce why there was such an outcry from a portion of the fan base. As previously mentioned, the classic Metallica logo from the first 5 records was altered into a more basic look. The band themselves had a new look in the back of the record, donning haircuts in a photo that looks like a scene out of Scarface. You can also see photos of some of the band members sporting eyeliner inside the booklet, something else that irked detractors. It would have been nice if more lyrics were included in these pages, by the way, especially handwritten as the few lyrics included here were. And finally, that artwork. Originally intended to be ambiguous for the fans, it has quite the backstory. According to Hammett, the art piece, known as Semen and Blood 3, was created by Andre Serrano using both humanly fluids on 2 different sheets of plexiglass. Hammett, who found the piece in Serrano's book Body and Soul, then shared it to the rest of the band members, and they all agreed to use it as the cover art for Load. Whether the album title was a play on words or not is anyone's guess. Anyway, on June 4th, 14 new tracks were delivered to the world. Lyrics were written by Hetfield, and unless otherwise noted, music was done by the duo of Hetfield and Ulrich. Let's dive into each of these tracks. It Ain't My Bitch. The first tune is called Ain't My Bitch. Contrary to what may seem obvious, this song does not pertain to some lady Hetfield got sick of. It's meant to say, it isn't my problem. The first track is heavy and upbeat, mixed with a bluesy influence. The band is in full jam mode with this one. In the solo, Hammett used a slider for the first time. I loved this one when I first heard it years ago, and it continues to be one of my favorites on the record. It doesn't waste much time building up to a crescendo a la Enter Sandman, and I like that. This one clocks in at a little over 5 minutes. Ooh, Bert. Cha. I can't hear ya, talk to me. Next one is 2x4. This song includes Hammett in the writing credits, alongside Papa Het and the Danish native. I'd like to describe this one as Stevie Ray Vaughan if he was extremely pissed at the world, 24/7. More of a bluesy effort with a slice of southern rock, and yet you can still feel the familiar punch in the Hetfield riffage. The song itself has been theorized as pertaining to Papa Het's anger issues at the time, metaphorically using a 2x4 to get everyone out of the way. Whatever it's really about, I enjoy this one, especially live. The band would typically increase the tempo a little bit on stage, resulting in a highly energetic and enjoyable jam. Open door so I walk inside. Track 3 is The House Jack Built, another song that credits Papa Het, Ulrich, and Hammett. The lyrics here definitely touch on addiction, with the possibility that the Jack in the title refers to Jack Daniels. This has not been confirmed by Hetfield to my knowledge though. The music here flows more freely, slower in tempo, but by no means in intensity. While I contend that this song complements the others nicely while listening to the record from start to finish, it's not one I go back to individually. It's one you'll either like or dislike with how unique it sounds compared to the rest of the record. Where do I take this pain of mine? Song number 4 is Until It Sleeps, the first single as mentioned earlier. A real deep song lyrically pertaining to Hetfield losing his mother to cancer in his teen years. It can also be interpreted as a song dealing with internal conflict of any cause. Sleep seemingly combines the looseness of 2x4 with the ambiance of Jack Built, all while incorporating a haunting and moving sound in its own right. I enjoy this one a lot. It sounded good live from the beginning as well. I can do without seeing the music video again though. I want that star, I want it now, want it all and I don't care how. Next is the final single from the record released in music video form on January 7th, 1997. This is King Nothing, with Hammett once again receiving writing credits. In the same vein as Enter Sandman, Nothing features a gradual build-up before the main riff begins as laid down by Newsted on bass. Credit to Jason Newsted on this entire record, by the way, his sound is on point. Once the main riff starts, we have another heavy jam that kicks ass. Lyrically, it deals with the danger of achieving several material things and accolades, only to find that your spirit is still imbalanced. It's almost as if Papa Het is speaking directly to us about something he may have been experiencing with all the success the band was achieving at the time. Careful what you wish, you may regret it. Careful what you wish, you just might get it. Nothing is awesome, both on the record and on stage. Love this one. They're off to find the hero of the day. Up next is the second single from Load, Hero of the Day, debuting on September 9th, 1996. Hammett is credited here as well. Hetfield has gone on record stating that the lyrics have to do with children looking outside of their families for a hero, a state of disorientation with what the children may already have at home. Hero worship, possibly? The music in Hero has a chilling yet soothing start, but gradually builds up to the heavy jam towards the end. The heavy riff that comes in after the lyrics, "So please excuse me while I tend to how I feel," are sung for the second time, leaves me amazed every single time. It's so good. Another track I enjoyed tremendously on this here Load record. I'm digging my way to something better. In another effort credited to the trio of Hetfield, Ulrich, and Hammett, we have Bleeding Me, the second longest song on the record at a little over 8 minutes. The beginning is rather mellow, while Papa Het's vocals deliver such a captivating listening experience. Chilling lyrics, once discussed by Newsted as someone dealing with mental torture, help increase the intensity of the song after its first 4 minutes or so. Bleeding Me is one of those songs that has continued to sound better and better for me each time. It never gets old. Very little from Metallica has been able to move me the way this song does since the release of Load. They really should play this one more live. Yeah, everyone's got to have that sickness. And now we begin covering some songs from Load that the band has yet to play live at the time of this video's release. First up is track 8, called Cure. This is one of those filler tracks on the record, no question about it. Metallica themselves consider this one to be nothing special, and that's appropriate in my view. With more straightforward jamming and a familiar approach to the vocals, it's simply there in between songs. The lyrics have been speculated to be a reflection of the idea that a good portion of people are always looking for that one external thing to solve everything in a pinch. However, when I listen to this track nowadays, I can't help but feel like Papa Het is discussing the Rona. Oh, poor twisted me. Track 9 is Oh, Poor Twisted Me. Much like Cure, Twisted is more filler, a slower heavy jam than the preceding song. I'd like to assume it's about someone who wallows in self-pity a little too much. It could even be about that same person making fun of someone else who wallows in self-pity a little too much. Maybe that same person is being a sarcastic bastard this whole time. Regardless, the title of the song was good enough for the band to name their initial tour for Load in its honor, Poor Touring Me. Did they play Poor Twisted Me on the Poor Touring Me tour? No, and they have yet to do so. It is fun to imitate Hetfield's vocal delivery here in this song, but that's about it. Hurt. Song number 10 is a doozy. Wasting My Hate, another trio credited piece, follows the blueprint of Ain't My Bitch. This is a more upbeat track that meshes punk, blues, and southern rock all into a track under 4 minutes. The story behind the lyrics is fascinating. Country outlaw icon Waylon Jennings, a friend of Papa Het's before his death in 2002, once recalled a moment he had in Jamaica where one of the locals would not stop staring at him. It got under Jennings' skin until he found out the local was so stoned he didn't even realize he had been staring at the outlaw the whole time. As the title of the song says, he was wasting his hate. I enjoy this one quite a bit. It's a nice jam after the preceding two songs. Fans of their earlier stuff might get a kick out of this one. Let my heart go. Track 11 is none other than Mama Said, the third single from Load on November 25th, 1996. As the title implies, this is another song written in memory of Hetfield's mother. This time, Papa Het expresses regret over not spending more time with her prior to her battle with cancer. Without a doubt, the country influence here didn't set well with a significant number of fans. Even I was taken by surprise on the first listen. Much like the more unique sounding songs on this record, Mama is one you'll either like or dislike. Personally, I like it. I really like it. I'd even go as far as saying, I love it. The more time I spend on this planet, the more I enjoy this song. So point your fingers. The final track on the record in which Hammett receives writing credit alongside Hetfield and Ulrich. This is Thorn Within, the 12th piece thus far. Thorn is another track Metallica has yet to play live, and I can understand why. It's clear this is more filler. However, I will say that the main riff is quite catchy. Hetfield's delivery on the lyric, and I am the thorn within, is also solid. Not bad, but skippable. He said, don't you dare ask why I'm cursed to wear this face. The next to last track on the record is Ronnie. The opening lick is all the listener will need to hear before deciding to keep playing the song or skipping it altogether. It's that much of a different sounding piece. This is a more laid-back effort that pertains to the urban legend of a fellow named Ronnie Brown instigating a shootout at Washington State in 1995. Although the would-be shooter is referred to as Ronnie Long in the lyrics, the portion that follows seems more consistent with the Ronnie Brown name. Well, now we all know why. The children called him Ronnie Frown when he pulled that gun from his pocket, and they'd all fall down, down, down. No actual evidence of such an event has surfaced, but it's still scathing to ponder nonetheless. Initially, I was dismissive of this one and labeled it as my least favorite on Load. However, after several listenings of the record from start to finish over the years, I must admit, it has grown on me. The main riff is unlikely to cease from one's mental capacity after hearing it the first time. I like this track these days, but I can understand those who don't. And now I wait my whole lifetime. The final track, number 14, The Outlaw Torn, the longest song on Load, clocking in at slightly below 10 minutes on the official release. Black Sabbath's Sign of the Southern Cross had to have been a major influence for this one, and both of those songs must have had some type of influence on this song from Spider-Man 2 Enter Electro for the PlayStation. The sound is hauntingly amazing, with each section where the guitars fall silent, providing the perfect background for Hetfield to deliver his chilling lyrics. The subject matter can be attributed to grief over losing someone that is never truly replaced, no matter how much one yearns for that void to be filled. It wouldn't surprise me if this was indeed about the late Cliff Burton. Much like Bleeding Me, Outlaw has continued to sound so fresh to my ears with each listen. It's a wonderful roller coaster of sick riffage, killer bass work by Newsted, and tight playing all around by the rest of the band. Best of all, the solo at the end. That solo, everybody, is performed by Papa Het. Such a fantastic way to close out the piece, even if it is bittersweet to hear the official album version fade out. You see, Outlaw was slated to be longer, but had to be cut short to fit the rest of the material on the disc. But never fear, Metallica is here. The unencumbered version lets us hear Papa Head's addicting solo in its entirety. Additionally, each live rendition has proven to be nothing short of spectacular. See also S&M's version from 1999. The final track on Load happens to be my favorite one. It never, ever gets old. I could listen to that Hetfield solo and jam at the end forever, and I'd never get tired of it. I'll leave a link in the description below for an even longer version of Outlaw made by YouTube user PBL Powered, my go-to version these days. Thank you for that, PBL. Great finale to the record from 1996. The reception for Load was mixed, with some complimenting the band for continuing to explore different ways to expand on their sound. Hammett expressed that along with 70s rock, members had been listening to blues, jazz, and country during the making of this record. You can understand the general musical direction for Load with this information. Their choices of visual expression during that time notwithstanding, I have come to enjoy a good portion of the music presented here as time has gone on. Bleeding Me and Outlaw Torn are two songs that everyone should listen to at least once. And with songs such as Hero of the Day, King Nothing, and Until It Sleeps strongly backing them up, I have fun going back to this record 25 years later. Thanks to Metallica for providing us with something different in 1996 that features some of my favorite tracks they have ever done.
Dude, he f***ing left the band. He f***ing left the band.
Track 9 is Oh Poor Twisted Me. Much like Cure, Twister is more filler. Twister.
Put him up.